Today we're talking about introverted thinking, or TI. We will explore this function by looking at all of the positions in the cognitive stack that TI can fulfill. And we will link this to specific behaviors and also the personality types that use this function in a specific position in the cognitive stack. So all about that in the next minutes. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. Okay, so first of all, we've got TI hero, or TI as a dominant function. The personality types that make use of TI as a hero function are INTPs and ISTPs. So what does this mean? It means that this is the function that dominates the personality of these two types. It's the function that somehow takes control over the entire cognitive stack, and it's something that they use instinctively, often without awareness, even though it's considered to be a function that is part of their conscious processes. INTPs and ISTPs can look rather aloof to the outside world, and this is because often enough they engage in this process of storing information inside and sorting through the stored information. They're excellent troubleshooters, that they are extremely good at problem solving, and this is because TI dominates who they are so much. TI enables them to go through all of this information, categorize it, and somehow have a very clear system based on logical principles that is inherently a very big part of who they are, and it's a very big part of their entire decision-making process. So INTPs and ISTPs will naturally use this function in order to dig deeper and understand the underlying principles that something or a system is based upon. They will also be extremely good at always looking for objective truth. It's very important for INTPs and ISTPs to know what the truth is and to somehow create it and understand it from the most objective point of view that is possible. That's why they really enjoy taking things apart and putting the pieces back together once they have understood how that system works and how the parts relate to each other within that system. Next, we've got parent introverted thinking. This is the second or auxiliary function, and it comes out in ENTPs and ESTPs. Both of these personality types also really enjoy making use of TI, and they're quite good at it. It comes quite naturally to them. However, they don't really overuse it as much as INTPs and ISTPs do. It tends to be a healthier version of the function. This means that ENTPs and ESTPs will really enjoy being independent and having a very independent, logical internal process. It's important for these types to somehow create a logical system in their heads and have control over what is going on inside of their minds, because they focus on understanding the system very well, and they really dislike having some sort of logic being imposed on them, because they're quite good at creating their own logic. Surely they use it differently together with NE or SE. However, they both really care about having this very clear, objective and independent thought process. Thirdly, we have introverted thinking as a child function, so the third function in the cognitive stack. INFJs and ISFJs are the two personality types that use TI as a child function, and this means that both of these types will be quite curious to explore what TI could bring. Both INFJs and ISFJs might really enjoy TI-related activities, such as puzzles, riddles, any kind of problems that stimulate their logical reasoning. And they usually use this function in situations that are more fun. So when they're in a stress-free environment, when they are in some sort of environment that allows them to just play with this function and not have a lot of external stimulation pushing onto them, they're quite good at using it, and they might really enjoy it and have fun using it. And both of these types might be quite curious and interested to see it in other people too, because they find it fascinating. However, if they're in a very stressful situation where they're kind of pushed to make decisions, FE, or extroverted feeling, which is the partner of introverted thinking, will come into play, and it might kind of destabilize them, and it will be much more difficult for them to actually use introverted thinking and be very objective in their decision-making process. I've noticed this in myself as well. It's much easier to use TI if I'm very relaxed However, if there's a crisis, if there's a problem going on, it will be much more difficult for me to grasp it, and I will go with FE and kind of make decisions based on the feeling, emotional, subjective part of things. However, if I have more time to think and if I'm not stressed or pushed by external factors, it will be much easier to integrate TI as well. Next, we have introverted thinking as an inferior function. This happens in the case of ENFJs and ESFJs. Both of these personality types might be curious to explore introverted thinking, and they might find it quite interesting and sexy when they notice it in other personality types. However, in their case, it doesn't come naturally at all. They will try to use it. They might even engage in activities like puzzles and riddles and this kind of things similarly to their INFJ and ISFJ counterparts, but they will usually not be natural at it at all. They might struggle a lot with using it, and they usually might employ some sort of a flawed logic when making decisions based on rationality and objective principles. They're much more natural at using FE to understand feelings, to understand how they relate to other people, and when they actually try to employ introverted thinking, this can cause them to either get quite destabilized, or it can lead to them becoming hypercritical of themselves and of other people. And in a way or another, using logical principles that are very flawed, and that can lead to them actually blaming themselves for things that they should not blame themselves for. At the same time, if these personality types get better at understanding TI and using TI and actually have accomplishments that are based on TI, they can take great pride from this, and it can make them really, really happy and satisfied. So how about TI as a shadow function? We are now going deeper and seeing how TI manifests from a more unconscious perspective. The other 8 personality types that I haven't mentioned so far use TI as one of the functions from their shadow stack. And this means that TI will actually be expressed through TE, ironically. So let's see what that means. Let's explore this. First of all, we have the Nemesis function, or the 5th function. This is the case of ENTJs and ESTJs who have TE hero. In this situation, it means that when they are in a situation that TE cannot handle properly by itself, TI will come into play and somehow try to make a better, more complete, rational, objective perspective over things and decision-making process. So ENTJs and ESTJs will try to use TI to get better at logical reasoning and make decisions based on objective principles. They can use it, but their usage of it is quite limited and a bit narrow-minded. And also, because it's part of their nemesis, it means that ENTJs and ESTJs can get annoyed when they see TI in other personality types, especially TPs, who use it a lot, and they might think that these personality types are opposing them and they're attacking them because of the projections from their shadow, which is not necessarily the case. Next, we have INTJs and ISTJs who use introverted thinking as a critic, so the 6th function in their stack. This means that, again, this will not be their preferred process when it comes to rationality and objective things, but they might use TI when being overly critical of something, especially of themselves. And they might jump to conclusions and correct something that they believe is logically flawed without having all of the information that they need. They might jump to conclusion and jump a few steps because TI is nagging them in their heads, trying to push them to actually understand what is really going on. But again, this doesn't come very naturally to them, so they can become quite chaotic in the use of it and mostly use it for negative purposes rather than positive ones. And again, similarly to ENTJs and ESTJs, ITJ personality types might find people who use TI as annoying, and they might find their logic to be useless in some situations because they think that it doesn't make any sense to go so deep and analyze everything so deeply. Then we have TI as a trickster or blind spot function. This is the situation when it comes to ENFPs and ESFPs. who will probably have the most difficulty accessing TI, because this is the part of themselves that is probably the most unconscious to them. So often enough, they will not even notice when they use it. They will be very triggered, possibly the most triggered, when they see TI in other personality types. And when they use it themselves, they will probably struggle the most, because it can lead to them making very manipulative things and overstepping other people's boundaries without taking into account what this function can actually bring as a benefit. So in most cases, ENFPs and ESFPs will jump from TE to TI and again become overly critical, manipulative, and overstepping the boundaries of other people. And lastly, we have TI as a demon function. TI demon manifests itself in INFPs and ISFPs, for which FI is their hero function. And when it comes to these two personality types, TI will be something that they seem to be lost at sea when looking at. It seems to be the part of themselves that they have a lot of difficulty dealing with. They will have difficulty relating to it when they see it in other people, especially INTPs and ISTPs. And they might think that this is something that is completely opposite to who they are and what really matters to them. But there's a different perspective here. What if FI, introverted feeling, actually deeps into their introverted thinking and creates the loop that will eventually lead to wholeness? It's a perspective that some adopt, it's a perspective that some disagree with, but nonetheless, I think it has a quite powerful message if we analyze it. What if FI draws its energy from introverted thinking, and what if the two processes can team up and better make decisions that are related to the self? What would this mean? How will this somehow create a whole? Tell me in the comments below. What do you think? What is the relationship between FI and TI? So thank you guys, thank you a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next week when we will discuss extroverted thinking and all of the positions in the cognitive stack that it can fill.